What's up, YouTube? This is your girl Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen, to all of my returning subscribers. But if this is your first time joining me on today, go ahead, hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. Now, tonight I'm coming at y'all with another video. This time my voice is, I'm pretty sure you can hear, it just sounds real raspy. Like I'm sounding real Macy Grayish. Once again, something's going on with my throat, so excuse me in advance. However, I didn't want to waste any more time getting to this Joycelyn, is this her name? Joycelyn Savage fiasco. So as I am pretty sure you are aware of, R. Kelly was brought on charges for like sexual abuse and just a slew of other things. So over the past, I want to say month or so, the man has been arrested twice. So his initial arrest was due to the charges, the sexual abuse charges, and which his bail, I think it was set at $1 million. And of course, you only pay 10% of that. And so supposedly a fan bailed him out. And then in lieu of him going to jail a second time around for unpaid child support, he actually scheduled an interview with Gail on ABC Morning. So he, along with his two girlfriends, one of his girlfriends being Joycelyn Savage and some other girl, I don't know her name at the time, so feel free to correct me. But basically the tea is that people are alleging that R. Kelly is the leader of some type of sex cult, that he's capturing girls and basically making them do various things, sexual things, and that he has mind control over these girls. And essentially this was brought to surface when Joycelyn Savage's parents initially came out either last year or sometime before that and said that their daughter was a victim of R. Kelly's sex cult. So ever since then, more women have stepped forward. Some women who claim to have been a part of said sex cult attested to the fact that Joycelyn is in fact a member of the sex cult, and that this other young lady sitting beside her is also a part of the sex cult. Now, in the interview, R. Kelly pretty much speaks on these two women and talks about them as if they are his girlfriends. So I guess this is the understanding that he gave to the world. And the two girls actually did the same. And Miss Thing on the left in the black had a very hot, spicy attitude. You know, they were clearly in very fierce defense of R. Kelly. They are talking about how their parents sold them, or their parents only want money. They want nothing to do with their parents. And the more they want nothing to do with their parents, the more outrage their parents are getting. And Joycelyn in particular, her parents have done, all kinds of press, interviews and things of that nature. So yeah, they're not taking this lying down. Everybody's upset. And here's my quick opinion, just going into the reading. Now, prior to taking a look at Joycelyn's chart, I felt mixed feelings. I had mixed feelings, number one, because I am certain that R. Kelly is a pedophile, that he's a sexual deviant. Take a look at his birth chart reading that I did for him maybe a month or two ago. So I had there was no questions with that. And I do believe that there are videos, in addition to the initial video in the early 90s, of him having sex with 14 and 13-year-old children. And if, with that being the case, if there's another tape of that, by all means, convict him. He should have been arrested and thrown in prison the first time around. So if we can find any tangible data, evidence confirming that he's out here still fucking and having sex with underage girls, by all means. I am no shape, way, form, or fashion defending this man, period. Now, however, with that being said, this kind of new discovery that the media has really drawn attention to, which is like R. Kelly being this sex cult, this leader who's holding bitches hostage, I didn't really buy it. And here's why. Because R. Kelly, although he comes with a slew of issues, I didn't see any evidence of him holding people against their will. Now, of course, here's the part where a lot of people talk about Stockholm Syndrome and the effects of manipulation. And after taking a look at Joycelyn's chart, all of these things are true. So, but we're gonna get into that, and here's the part where I separate my personal opinion and my initial opinion going into this reading from literally what I find. And I said all this to say that, given that that was my stance initially, like, I do think he should be thrown in jail for, and actually he needs to be helped, like, psychologically, for his issues with pedophilia. But I didn't really buy into the concept of him keeping women against their will and forcing them to not speak to family and things of that nature. So, yeah, especially if they're consenting, they're consenting adults. Everybody's over the age of 18. I didn't really understand the need to really focus on that. And I really felt like people were using that as just a placeholder because they didn't have any more tangible evidence of him actually sleeping with minors. Not to say that it's not happening, but in court it's about what you can prove. So with that being said, her chart, Joycelyn's chart, is one of the more fucked up charts I've seen in a very long time, and it definitely provided some really valuable insight for me. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into it right now. So here we go. Joycelyn Savage was born on July the 22nd, 1995. I don't have a time of birth on file, so I will refrain from using her house placements. She was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and she is a Cancer sun, with her sun being at the 29th degree. Now, right off rip, I noticed just some red flags. The first red flag was that 22, with her being born on the 22nd. 22 deals with situations that one must proceed with caution. And it can also create scenarios to where you're either controlling someone or you're someone who is being controlled by outside forces. And then with her sun being at the 29th degree of Cancer, that 29th degree is also referred to as the anoretic degree or even the crisis degree by astrologers. And it deals with, especially in the sign of Cancer, basically a fucked up family life, specifically a fucked up relationship with the father. A sun at the 29th degree can produce a variety of things, from identity issues to issues with men, as your sun could also represent the type of men that you attract. But with Cancer being the natural ruler of the fourth house of family, this plays into a larger theme that I see in her chart. It's like literally just a pattern of her having issues with her family. The 29th degree can also deal with third party interference. So this could even be a third party that's interfering or somehow stifling the relationship that she has with her family. So, hey, you can plug that in how you want to, connect those dots. So, another thing that I noticed is Joycelyn's, I'm fucking this girl's name up. Joycelyn's sun is conjoined to her Mercury as well as her Venus in her midheaven, right? And it's opposing R. Kelly's sun because he's a Capricorn, okay? And this aspect in particular is it stood out to me because it can produce love and hate relationships. This can point to a very karmic kind of relationship between two people. It can lead towards power struggles for leadership, with one person typically having the upper hand on the other. This could even point towards Joycelyn having the tendency to not have a mind of her own. And especially with her Venus being conjoined to her Mercury, this could point towards her being in like sister wives kind of like relationships or situations to where she's dating like in group dating, similar to what a lot of people have suspected about R. Kelly. And I mean, to a degree, what they've admitted, because they, at the very least, have admitted that they are in a polyamorous relationship. So you see that there. You see her being in a situation to where she is instructed by R. Kelly to be a part of whatever kind of unorthodox love arrangement, okay? And all of that is her Sun, Mercury, Venus, and midheaven opposing R. Kelly's sun. Also, she's a Gemini moon, with her moon being at the 4th degree of Gemini. The number 4 also reinforces this theme of like unorthodoxy. I don't want to say paranormal, but kind of even abnormal in a sense. And her moon, ironically, is conjoined to her black moon Lilith, which is at the 22nd degree of Gemini. That 22 appears again. And this can deal with somebody who is literally being controlled. Somebody whose reputation, image even, is being controlled. Somebody who literally can't think for themselves, doesn't have a mind of their own, and tends to be the mouthpiece for a lot of propaganda, put it that way. And this actually raises just my interest in her relationship with her mom, given that your moon also represents the mother. And when it's conjoined to black moon Lilith, this can produce somebody who has a very detached relationship with their mother, strained. This reinforces this theme that I see in her chart of family issues, especially with her moon, black moon Lilith opposing Pluto, her Scorpio Pluto. So this could be her having an abusive mom, to be quite honest, her suffering some type of abuse by way of her family, by way of her mother. It could be physical, emotional, sexual. This could be her feeling like her mother is very intrusive and invasive in her life, which I thought to be very interesting. And also, I remember looking at a video very recently of her coming home, and I'm assuming she came home from R. Kelly for a minute. I think he was upset with her, and so she came back to the house, and her family called themselves staging an intervention. And in this intervention, the father was recording, and literally it was like the mom, the father, one of the sisters, and like some other family members. And everybody was literally shouting at her, screaming at her. What are you doing? What did he make you do? You having sex with girls now? Who is such and such? What, like screaming at her. And she could even, like, she hardly had time to articulate her words. They wouldn't even let her finish like a full thought before jumping down her throat. It was almost like it was hard to watch. It was very hard to watch. Shit, I felt like I wanted to run away from home just looking at the video. And I don't even know these people. And from that point on, after looking at that video, it made me look at the Savages in a completely different light. Because up until then, they portrayed themselves to be, this family, this loving family that is just missing their daughter. They're hurting for their daughter. They haven't heard from her in so long, and they're just dying at the chance to speak to her, to see her, to make contact with her. And watching the way how violently they attacked this girl in this video, it leads credence to a lot of things that I see in her chart, which is that she actually comes from a very dysfunctional background, which in many ways may have played into her decision to leave home and to just all but excommunicate her parents. So, and we'll get into that some more later on, like I said, she has plenty of indicators of that in her chart. And if I can find the video, I'll be sure to insert it so y'all can see it for yourselves. But that's just to illustrate the point. It's something not right. Something's not right. Her moon is 1 degree off from the fixed star Hyades, and this deals with violence. It deals with misfortune. It deals with domestic problems. Her black moon Lilith is 1 degree off from the fixed star Capella, which deals with domestic problems as well. So through and through, her home life is fucked. Now, I notice her Saturn, which is at the 24 degree of Pisces, is squaring her black moon Lilith. This was a very troubling aspect because it reinforces this theme of control, her being at the control of older men, victimized, and with Pisces being the natural ruler of the 12th house. The 12th house deals with imprisonment. So this is her being isolated, secluded, imprisoned by older men, especially when you take into account that black moon Lilith in the sign of Gemini at the 22nd degree. So this could even be her mentally just being manipulated into seclusion, her being mentally manipulated into even cutting herself off from society. It deals with somebody who subconsciously finds pleasure in suffering, somebody who subconsciously finds pleasure in being mistreated, and who could potentially have a long history of being mistreated by elderly people or older people, because that Saturn, it could represent men, but then it could just also represent older people in general. So she could have a tough time, and this kind of makes me think about her dad. This reinforces this thing with her dad that I'm really questioning, because she has lots of indicators of her having a very, very tumultuous relationship with her father. This could even, thanks to Rabina, she's a online astrologer, a YouTube astrologer. She's the bomb, like thebomb.com, and a lot of my subscribers actually watch her religiously as well. And I actually got this from one of her readings, which is that the 22nd degree could deal with incestuous situations like incest. And then Gemini can also deal with incest also. So this aspect makes me wonder if she's suffered sexual abuse at the hands of her family or even her father. And this is just speculation on my part. So, allegedly. I don't want this to blow up and, to turn into anything else. But this is just Megan thinking out loud and looking at the indicators. But with this aspect, it's a strong possibility, especially with the sign placements and the number. I don't know, just a thought. But so there's that. And then this aspect can also bring about an insecurity, just deep-rooted insecurities. And I'm wondering if she even suffers from strong bouts of depression. This could indicate somebody who mentally, she has some issues mentally, some troubles mentally that could possibly make her a little bit more vulnerable to her situation. And there are other indicators of that in her chart also. Her Saturn is also squaring her Juno, which reinforces her being victimized. It reinforces her being insecure, and specifically insecure about being alone. So this could be somebody who has like this fear of providing for themselves. So they stay in very unhappy, kind of unsatisfying relationships. So that's something to think about as well. Her Juno it happens to be in the sign of Sagittarius. So, and just from personal observation, I noticed that a lot of people, or women specifically, with their Juno in Sagittarius, either are a part of relationships that are unorthodox, or they can deal with men who just have a large appetite for women. And so I find that to be quite interesting. Now, her Saturn is opposing her Chiron at the 23rd degree of Virgo, And this can deal with her being controlled. It reinforces this theme of imprisonment by older men. This could be R. Kelly even telling her when to eat, when to drink, as Virgo is the natural ruler of the sixth house of routine, even your health. So this could be even him putting her in situations to where her health is at risk. Just putting everyday, using his power to dictate her everyday life, so to speak. This could reinforce this theme of depression, somebody who suffers from mental health issues, reinforces loneliness, isolation. This also reinforces her having daddy issues and could even indicate her growing up feeling like she had a very controlled, like her family was hell-bent on telling her what to do, or maybe her father, and her rebelling against those things from a very early age. And also, something else I wanted to point out that I forgot to mention, with her moon being opposite to her Pluto, right, in Scorpio. Her Pluto is actually at the 27th degree of Scorpio. And the number 27 breaks down to the number 9. And 9 deals with mentally unstable, somebody who's mentally unstable. But it also deals with cruelty and narcissism. So as this pertains to her moon, it really makes me wonder what's going on with her mom, the intentions of her mother. It really makes me feel like her parents are narcissists as well as R. Kelly, which is why I said in the beginning of this video, I do find R. Kelly 100% culpable, but I feel like Joycelyn's family, they have some issues and something's not right with them. Now, one of the biggest just red flags that I've seen in her chart was the fact that this girl is a Scorpio North Node, okay? Now, check this out. For those of y'all who took a look at my R. Kelly video, R. Kelly is a Scorpio South Node. So not only is her North Node conjoined to his South Node, her Pluto is conjoined to his South Node. Now, this absolutely reinforces the fact that she and R. Kelly have a karmic kind of relationship. I'm not sure, it could be a past life experience. Maybe they knew each other in another lifetime, which is typically what that North Node, South Node kind of dynamic really points towards. But there's a lot of karmic debt that's involved in their relationship with one another. And this aspect in particular in synastry, it can create obsession between two people. So it could be on one person's like end more than the other. So this could be both of them being obsessed with one another to a certain degree, but perhaps R. Kelly being more obsessed with her than she is, or vice versa. This could create one partner who has control over the other, and it can get downright, just dirty. It can get dirty. It can get abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, sexually abusive. It creates a lot of like obsessive, compulsive kind of characteristics going on, or just themes going on within that relationship. And with her being a Taurus South Node, once again, thanks to Miss Rabina, the realist astrologer, she always talks about this in her live streams, but she refers to Taurus as the sign of the cult leader, which pretty much, like I said, it really sold me and put the nail in the coffin as far as me just changing my view on what's going on here. Because it can deal with her being in a cult, especially with her Venus being conjoined to her Sun and her Mercury in Cancer. And just for the record, like I said, that Venus-Mercury kind of dynamic can bring about sister wives kind of relationships, and it can bring about literally like cults where you're like fucking people who are your peers, and women who are your equals or who you regard as sisters. That's that Mercury. But I also wanted to make a point that I forgot earlier as far as Mercury Cancer people. Because Cancer, like I said, it deals with the family. These people, if they're not close with their family, they tend to adopt like surrogate family members. You know what I'm saying? People that they turn to in lieu of not having a suitable family, right? And they can even regard their close friends and the people around them as family, and they place a lot of value on that. And as a result, these people can be fiercely protective of the people that they deem to be family. And when you're dealing with cults, these people a lot of times do look at each other like family members. So, and these people, Mercury, Cancer people are very defensive too. They can be very defensive. They're not really logically based. They're not really, I don't want to say intelligent, but from a left brain perspective, like logically intelligent. They're more so intuitive, very much in their feelings, like I said, defensive, and it's all about instinct. They are really quick to defend their beliefs. They are really quick to defend those who are the closest to them. Hence why there was so much pushback. Now, granted, the other girl was kind of the one doing more of the talking, but even before this CBS interview, Joycelyn has been more than vocal about people backing up off of R. Kelly and leaving her alone and leaving this other girl alone. So, I mean, ugh, oh Lord, Jesus, oh my God. Her Chiron is forming a square to her black moon Lilith, which reinforces just that control thing. Like, she has a lot of indicators of her not having a mind of her own, or her mind being easily like manipulated, influenced. This is another indicator of, like I said, that sister wives kind of dynamic. Her Neptune and Uranus are actually conjoined to R. Kelly's sun. And her Uranus is at the 28th degree of Capricorn, and that 28 breaks down to 1. And just in general, 28 can be susceptible to the influence of other people. So keep that in mind, which, like I said, kind of falls right in line with this theme of her not having a mind of her own. But with her Neptune and Uranus conjoining R. Kelly's sun, this could reinforce her being controlled by him. This could reinforce her attracting just older men in the first place, like R. Kelly. This reinforces her being kept. This like almost like a money thing. So this could even point towards her being in it for some type of financial satisfaction. Now, granted, all right, there have been lots of disputes over R. Kelly's finances or lack thereof, but think about it. Coming from somebody who's literally like a nobody, your family is just like this regular average family. I mean, we don't know that, especially as a naive teenager or whenever she was a young adult. Maybe she, you know, I don't think you take those things into consideration. And even then, a lot of times, like celebrity broke and then my broke might be two completely different things. So this could even, like I said, deal with her wanting to be kept financially or being taken care of by an older man. This could also point towards her keeping a lot of R. Kelly's secrets. All right, her purposefully, I guess you could say, keeping or not really telling things the way that they are. Her knowing a lot of his skeletons and knowing where the bones are buried and not really being forthcoming. So, I mean, if she really wanted to, she can sing, and there she knows a lot, and this aspect points towards that. And yeah, this could also point towards it reinforces her attracting pedophiles too, with her Uranus, especially her Uranus conjoining his sun, and or them being a part of a very just kinky, freaky, weird, unorthodox type of situation. Okay, now her sun is also opposing Uranus and her own Neptune, and this reinforces once again the same theme: her being controlled by older men, blase squaze. This could also deal with her even being pimped out by her father, and which once again reinforces this other theme of her having a very just tumultuous relationship with the father. It could deal with isolation. That Sun Uranus dynamic deals with people who tend to isolate themselves. Now, her Mercury is opposing Neptune and Uranus, and this deals with her being a liar. She's a liar, somebody who clearly doesn't tell the truth, somebody who might even be a little mentally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, lying to cover R. Kelly's identity, covering his secrets, and even, I would even argue, the secrets of her father. There are a lot of things that she's not really being upfront about as it pertains to her family as well. And then her just being the mouthpiece, just to kind of cover the propaganda at hand. So, yeah. Her Sun is trining her Pluto, once again reinforcing this theme of her being controlled. And I really feel bad for her. Her chart is fucked up. Her being prey to abusive men, powerful people. Like I said, her father. This could even reinforce the theme of her father pimping her or even abusing her, So there's that. These people can be predisposed to tragedy, violence. These people with this aspect could be blackmailed, even particularly have their lives threatened if they come out and tell the truth. Her moon is opposing her North Node and her Pluto, which deals with her having difficulties with women, especially given that this will make her moon conjoined to her South Node in Taurus. So I would even just, once again, speculation on my part, I would even wonder if she's having issues with other women within said quote unquote cult, or her dealing with a handler, a female handler that she's having issues with. And the first thing that popped into my mind after looking at this aspect was the beginning of that video of her being interrogated by her family, and they were asking why R. Kelly was mad at her, and she said that he was upset with her because she rolled her eyes at some lady. And even some of the other, I want to say, women have kind of, I think I heard it somewhere that there are women who help him prime and groom these girls. So, that's very interesting. That's something to think about. But then also it just reinforces her having just a very rocky relationship with her mom. Her family life is, like I said, is fucked all the way up. Her Mercury is forming a trine to her Saturn, which deals, once again, reinforces her being controlled. It reinforces her having a very restrictive family life, problematic family life. It also reinforces her mental health, her having mental health issues as far as depression. Her Mercury is, I talked about Mercury conjoined to Venus. And now on to the fixed stars. Her Mercury is conjoined to the fixed star Pollux. And this could deal with problems with family. It can deal with strong passions, but it can also bring about rape. And, like I said, that whole her Mercury is in Cancer, which deals with family. So once again, reinforcing this issue of her being abused by the hands of her family, at the hands of her family, allegedly. On my speculation, okay? This deals with an unbalanced mind, reinforces her having psychological issues, and just dealing with a lot of issues as it pertains to the women, family, the way she was nurtured. So, look, she has a lot of other shit in her chart that is sad, actually. But I can't anymore. Her Saturn is squaring her Lilith, is squaring her Pluto. Also, her Saturn is heavily aspected. So she has lots of karmic issues with older men, older people. This girl has been pimped out, fucked out, used, abused, and I said all this to say that, yes, R. Kelly took, advantage of a situation. Her birth chart is just the perfect storm for somebody who is a victim of a cult, somebody who is taken advantage of. But her family has a lot of bones that they're burying that I don't think a lot of people are really pressing them on. This girl, her life is a clusterfuck, and I truly, truly feel sorry for her. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this reading, y'all, because I'm depressed. So, with that being said, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And, drop down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of this reading. As always, I'm open to any suggestions you might have for a reading that you would like to see happen. So, yeah. And until next time, I holla.